11 Ministers for Veterans Affairs, while the Australian Defence Force, ADF, had 6 chiefs, 6 heads of the Army, and 8 commanders of Special Forces. This passing parade of leaders at all levels discouraged individual responsibility and camouflaged the long-term damage resulting from their decision-making. To truly understand the experiences of our modern veterans, by which I mean those who served in Timor-Leste, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and in a wide range of peacekeeping duties since the Vietnam War, and to appreciate the impact of that service on their lives and those of their families, we must examine the conflicts in which they served and consider the rationale for Australia's involvement in them. Doing so reveals some stark differences in expectations and challenges, and cast light on the suite of problems with which today's veterans must contend. Every conflict has its own cultural heritage, internal politics, international history, alliances, and imperatives. Each nation's commitment is made for a complex web of reasons. The inevitable result is that those who serve are affected in a complex variety of ways, and some suffer devastating and lingering impacts. The way governments and populations treat and care for their returned veterans also varies according to historical and modern expectations. Not surprisingly, veterans who served in wars in which large sections of Australia's population were directly involved, primarily World War I and World War II, were treated differently to those who took part in the modern niche wars. As Army and RAAF veteran Catherine McGregor observes, "If you ask most Australians what a veteran is, they think of an old fellow with a chest full of medals who was in the AIF, Australian Imperial Force, the 1st or 2nd AIF. A veteran these days is more likely to be someone whose family knew that he or she had deployed on operations overseas, but most of their neighbours or their post-defence employers wouldn't even know that they'd been in the military." While our modern veterans, now both men and women, carry with them the heritage of their Anzac forebears, in so many ways their training, backgrounds, culture and rules of engagement are light years apart. As are the battlefields on which they have fought, with today's conflicts described as war amongst the people, where the fighting is deeply political, there are no front lines or rear echelons, and the opponents are phantoms who live within the civilian population. Yet today's Anzacs are still measured against the mythology and often the values of those in whose footsteps they follow. Unless we examine the backstories of the modern conflicts, we will compound the errors and the inequity of these comparisons and will neither understand nor respond properly to the needs of our veterans. The same applies to understanding the structures and the organisations that have grown up over more than a century to care for returned Australian veterans. Too many of them have stubbornly resisted adapting to the different needs of modern veterans. The Department of Veterans Affairs, DVA, and the Returned and Services League, RSL for instance, have been unable to shake themselves free of their entrenched systems, opaque legislation, and outdated organisational architecture, attitudes and leadership. While in recent years both organisations have attempted to make changes, they are well behind the curve. The disconnect between the RSL and modern ex-service personnel, for instance, is dramatically illustrated by the fact that of around 85,000 modern veterans qualified to join an RSL sub-branch, just 1,500 have done so. Similarly, the antiquated legislative system under which the DVA operates was a major contributing factor in the backlog in veterans' claims exploding from 12,000 in 2018 to more than 60,000 in 2022. As a result of this institutional stagnation, more than 4,000 ex-service organisations, ESOs, have sprung up across the nation to fill the vacuum. The vast majority have been created by veterans themselves as they strive to take control of their and their mates' recoveries. They desperately need it. Recent studies reveal that 8 out of every 10 veterans who took their own lives had mental and behavioural disorders, including depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and substance abuse. There can be no excuse that Australia's leaders, and those within the ADF, lack knowledge of the problems and the steps needed to address them. In its interim report, released in August 2022, the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide noted that, since 2000, there had been more than 50 reports